There's an aggressive new push to defund the president's health care law, Obamacare, pitting Republicans in some cases against Republicans. Some GOP lawmakers saying it's a bad political strategy to threaten a government shutdown when you know the other side will not budge. Senator Rand Paul has strong disagreement on that, as he told Sean Hannity just last night.
It's sort of like announcing preemptive surrender. We don't have control of the government. We don't control the Senate and the presidency, but we do control the House. We should utilize the leverage of the House to pass things we think are good, and we should stay the course until the Democrats and the president compromise. We won't get everything we want, but if we announce from the beginning, oh, we're afraid of our shadow and we're never going to, push Democrats to try to come to the table, then I think, in essence, we announce our surrender.
How many agree with him? Jonah Goldberg, editor-at-large, National Review, Fox News contributor. What's happening, Jonah? Good morning to you in Washington. What do you think of Rand Paul's idea, his strategy there?
I'm actually kind of a fan of Rand Paul's, but I think it's not a fantastic argument because it's basically true of any strategy that, he's basically saying everyone has to agree with our strategy, and if they don't agree with it, that's the reason why our strategy is not going to work. And the problem is, the reason the strategy is not going to work is because it's a bad strategy. This idea that somehow you're going to get Democrats and Obama to defund Obamacare by holding the debt ceiling limit or the budget hostage or threatening a government shutdown, I don't know very many people. I kind of doubt that Rand Paul really believes that that's going to happen.
You sound a little bit in your argument like what Charles Krauthammer was making, the point he was making the other night. Here is Charles on that same idea.
Why would you threaten something and demand in return something that you know the president will never do? It's his signature legislation. It will be a repudiation of his entire first term. And the only alternative is to go over a cliff. It is really dumb.
Well, it kind of sounds like the argument you're making. Ted Cruz says that Republicans are just scared. If they stood together, instead of standing in the way, they'd make something happen here.
Yeah, I like Senator Cruz too, but this is one of these arguments that works fantastically well for fundraising when you want to go and run in 2016 for president or up your profile with the base of the Republican Party. To me, the idea that somehow, they're also arguing that if you're against this strategy, you're not really against Obamacare, which is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, the House, has voted, 37 times to repeal Obamacare. Now, if you don't go along with the strategy, none of those votes count. It kind of reminds me of that scene from Blazing Saddles where Cleavon Little holds the gun to himself and says, one move and the sheriff gets it. The idea that somehow the Republicans would win this battle strikes me as ludicrous.
So then the only option would be then, if you want to defund it, is to take back the Senate in the year 2014.
Right, and that, I think, is part of the smart way to think about this, is for Republicans, the goal needs to be taking back the Senate in 2014 and the presidency in 2016, and that should be the strategic goal. Confusing it for this sort of Obamacare stuff, I think, is just sort of a mistake. And the idea that somehow of voting to fund the government or extend the debt ceiling means you're endorsing Obamacare, that argument, that leads to madness. That means anybody who votes to keep the government open is therefore endorsing everything the federal government does. And that's ludicrous. We've never had that standard before in American politics.
Okay. Jonah, thank you. It's good to get your reaction on all this. Jonah Goldberg out of Washington. Good to have you. 10 minutes past. Jamie?